Hey guys, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today I'm going to be talking about why God wants you to play the numbers game. Okay? For those that are unfamiliar about what the numbers game is, it basically involves, taking as many risks as possible because you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. Now, obviously, we're not going to be risking our lives to take as many risks as possible. We're taking minor risks, but we're going to take as many of them as possible because that's where the real wins lie. That's how you win at life. It doesn't matter whether you want women or whether you want money. You mitigate the risks, make them as little as possible, but you take as many chances as possible. The Bible talks about that thoroughly. Okay, some of the verses that I recently read were like, I had read them before and it didn't resonate with me at all. I didn't even understand it. But now when I'm reading over things after I've gained more wisdom, as you do through life, suddenly these verses just pop out at you and you're like, that's the numbers game. Like that's what he's talking about. You have like no idea of like what's gonna happen. So take as many risks within reason, to win at life. Okay, so let's look at what the Bible has to say about this. King Solomon in Ecclesiastes 9, chapter 9, verse 11. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. This is like, for people that have never played the numbers game and like interacted with people with real life, lots of different people, whether it's in sales, whether it's in getting girls, whatever it is, this will not make any sense to you. You'll be like, what? Of course, always the strongest win, always the fastest win the race. No, there is time and chance happen to them all. Suddenly, like you race enough times, the slower guy will win. You battle enough times, the less strong guy will win. This is how it always happens. Time and chance happens to them all. And if you've never done something over and over again, you don't know what this numbers game is about. It doesn't make any sense to you. Like I said, the first time I read this verse, it didn't mean anything to me. I couldn't understand it because the numbers game, I'd never played the numbers game. I'd never done something over and over again to see all the different outcomes that can happen completely at random, time and chance, which you have no control over. When I was new to this, getting girls, like hooking up with chicks, getting girlfriends and all this stuff, I thought I was completely in control. I thought, man, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm the one that's getting these women. Like, I'm just playing the numbers game and I just talk to enough women and I'm going to end up with the chick that I sleep with or get a hot girlfriend with. It's all me. But no, you're in charge of your actions. The outcomes are beyond your control because time and chance happen to us all. You and I. Okay, no one escapes this. You can be the fastest guy around. You race enough times, you're gonna lose. Okay, so Ecclesiastes 11, 4 to 6. This verse is totally life changing once you realize like what the numbers game is. And farming is like the ultimate from numbers game. Okay, when you plant seeds, you're not planting one seed, you're planting thousands of seeds. Okay, so get this, see the numbers game in play here. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. As you do not know what is the way of the wind, or how the bones grow in the womb of her who is with child, so you do not know the works of God who makes everything. Okay, how many of us, I know I've been there, I've wasted years, putting off getting good with women. I had a lot of like baggage in my brain thinking it was wrong to like sleep with women that I wasn't married to. So there was a lot of like prolonging this, like not really committing to this whole getting my, sex life handled, my woman life handled. I was always waiting for the perfect time, looking at the winds, looking at the weather, trying to predict outcomes when that's completely out of my control. Okay, I couldn't, it doesn't matter how much I watch the winds, try to predict the wind, try to predict the weather. God's going to handle that. Outcome is completely out of your control. Okay, so what does he delve into further? In the morning, sow your seed. In the evening, do not withhold your hand. Basically, he's saying, in the morning, plant your seed. And when the harvest comes, harvest. That starts to grow, you have to harvest it. For you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Okay? So here's your responsibility as a man. You're supposed to sow seeds. You're supposed to play the numbers game. You're supposed to cast a ton of seeds into the earth. And, they may grow, they may not. It's completely out of your control. And if they grow, you are to harvest. You reap. You use your, you work again. You harvest those seeds. You harvest the growth of whatever you planted. Okay, but you don't know whether it's going to grow or not. It's completely out of your control. You don't control the winds. You don't control the weather. So just put that out of your brain and get to sowing seeds, get to planting seeds, and get to harvesting. That is all, you're put on this earth to do. Outcomes are completely out of your control. And I came to realize this like over and over again as my life, as you get older and wiser, you see that like so much is out of your control. You have no idea that the woman that you meet, what are the odds that she is available, she's looking for a man in her life, she's open to meeting new men, and she finds you attractive, and you will find her attractive, and she just happened to be at your place, come across your vision, and you just happen to cross her vision at some miraculous time, both converging, both have our own lives, and suddenly we're converging, and our eyes meet, and you can see attraction between two people meeting for the first time. Like, what are the odds? And then as soon as you talk to them, you find out, they're available, they're actually interested, they're attracted to you. Like, what are the odds in that? Like, it's completely at random. Okay, and like, you just happen to be the absolute like perfect guy at the right time, at the right place. Time and chance happening to us all, to you and I. But again, this doesn't happen if you never open your mouth, if you're never in front of women, if you're never, you never see each other, you never leave your house. This can't happen. God's not going to place a woman knocking on your door, the woman of your dreams. You didn't have to do any work for it. You just sat at home and, God's going to place a woman in your life and you're not going to have to do anything. That's not how this works. And I'm going to show you examples in the Bible of how, you're going to be required to sow seeds. You're going to be required to plant seeds and harvest. You don't get to sit back. God's not going to like spoon feed you his meals, okay? You're going to have to go out there and put in a little effort, put in a little faith, okay? So which gets to my next point. You must demonstrate a mustard seed of faith, okay? You must have some semblance of faith, okay? It may not be a lot. All it may be is saying hi to a woman or getting out of your house and smiling at a woman. That may be what it takes. And you may have to do that a number of times. Like, don't expect God to put the perfect woman in front of you. No rejection. And she's the one for you. She's like, you were meant to be together. And it's the first one you see, the first one that you lock eyes with. Probably not going to happen. You're probably going to have to be scattering a lot of seeds for this to happen. You have no idea what the outcomes are going to be. So scatter as many seeds, harvest as much as you can, maximize the odds that the outcomes that you want, come to fruition. You must demonstrate some degree of faith in this, okay? You can't just sit on your butt and wait for money. Money's just going to pile into your bank account. Okay, that's not how this works. God doesn't work like that. He doesn't just, you wake up one day and suddenly your bank account's like has $1 million in it. No, it's going to require you to put in a little faith. Okay, sometimes it's a lot of faith. Sometimes it's a little faith. Okay, let's look at a lot of faith. David versus Goliath. Okay, we all know the story. David was like a teenager, not even full grown, like barely like in his adolescence. And he's supposed to face like a 12-foot tall, absolute killing machine. in full armor. He's been battling since his youth. And he takes his sling and he takes 5 rocks. He didn't take 1 rock. He took 5 rocks just in case. The first one doesn't land, he's going to have more available. And he winds it up and smites him. Hits him in the head, kills him. Okay, but what does that tell you? God didn't just tell him, okay, David, here's how it's going to go down. Okay, you're going to go face this Goliath, and I'm going to strike him dead. Okay, you're not going to have to do anything. You're just going to go out there and stand there. I'm just going to strike him dead, and yeah, you can cut off his head. Okay, great. No, that's not how it worked. What was required of him was to, face up to this Goliath, this absolute killing machine, pick the rocks, and then heave those rocks at him. Okay, and it killed him. Killed Goliath. It took a lot of faith for this to happen, okay? God didn't just do anything. He just didn't, smite him dead. He had to show some faith by actually, facing him and throwing those rocks at him, slinging those rocks at him. Let's look at another thing where it required a pretty big leap of faith for outcomes to be favorable. Okay, the walls of Jericho. Israelites had to, they were storming the Canaanite city of Jericho, and they were told to, walk around the city for 6 days straight, one time, and on the 7th day they were supposed to walk around it 7 times, and then give a loud shout, and the walls would come crumbling down. And that's exactly what happened. They were supposed to do something. They were supposed to show some faith that this was going to happen. They had to demonstrate a little bit of faith in order for these outcomes to appear. Okay, that's the Old Testament, big things in the Old Testament. What about the New Testament? Over and over, Jesus heals people, but he always gets them to do something beforehand, to demonstrate a little bit of faith. And even the woman that had an issue with blood, considering maybe she was, had some sort of injury that would never heal, and she kept on bleeding, she reached out and touched his robe and was instantly healed. Now, Jesus says, your faith has made you well, because she had faith. All she needed to do was reach out and touch him, reach out and touch his robe. Just a small little act of faith was all that was required. It wasn't like you had to face a 12-foot tall killing machine. It was just a small hint of faith. You just had to touch him. And she was healed. She demonstrated her faith. Same thing with guys that were, healed with blindness. God told them to wash out the mud in a certain pool. So he had to go out, find the pool and wash his eyes, and he was able to see again. All these little acts of faith were required to get the outcomes that they wanted. They had to have a little bit of faith. Reaching out and touching him, going to the pool and washing out the mud out of their eyes. Okay? Same thing with you. It's going to require a little bit of effort on your part to get the outcomes that you want with women. Okay? It's going to require you to go out and find women, expose yourself to women, and start conversations. Start conversations. Don't worry about what you're going to say. Don't worry about anything else. A lot of these outcomes are already determined. They're already determined before you even open your mouth. Okay? They're not in your control. So don't worry about all this stuff. Don't worry about what is the outcome going to be? Am I going to be rejected? Oh, what's going to happen? It's already, written. Okay? The outcome is already destined. And it's going to be good either way, whether you get rejected or whether it's, it ends up being the woman of your dreams. It's a good thing. It was planned out that way. It was supposed to be that way. Or maybe this woman ends up totally breaking your heart. And, you learn from this. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from oh man, she really taught me a lesson from this. Okay? Everything ends up being good. The outcome is not in your control. But everything is in your favor. It may not look like that in the first time you experience this, but with time you will see that yes, it was in your favor. It was for the good. It was for the best. So what can we learn from this in conclusion? realize that you have control over your actions. You have control over how many seeds you plant. Notice, like, when you farm, you don't plant one seed, hope for the best. No, you scatter thousands of seeds and you hope for the best and you reap what grows. You harvest what grows. Whether it's good or bad, nothing's in your control. You have no control over the wind, no control over the weather. Okay, God controls the outcome, just like he does in the farming when you're scattering seeds. For you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both be alike will be good. Okay, not in your control. You just do your best and it's out of your control. Okay, therefore, stop trying to control outcomes. Stop worrying about the wind. Stop trying to worry about like the perfect time, the perfect this, the perfect approach, the perfect opener. None of that matters. At the end of the day, you're supposed to take a small step of faith, a small little leap of faith. Open your mouth and say something to a woman, and you have no idea what the outcomes will be, whether they be good or bad. But ultimately, it will be for your good. You're going to learn something, even if it's not something that you like. Okay? But you cast enough seeds, you reap the harvest, eventually you're going to find what you're looking for. Anyways, guys, that's the video. If you need help doing this, stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for controlling the winds, controlling the weather, stuff that is completely out of your control. Just get to, planting seeds and harvesting. Hold not your hand. Okay? Get working. And you get the outcomes that you want eventually. There's coaching links down below. If you want my help doing this, stop procrastinating, looking at the wind, looking at the weather, and getting this woman life handled. And it not only applies to women, it applies to business. It's like even this video is a numbers game. Everything that I do on this channel is pretty much a numbers game. It's random of who I'm going to reach, who I'm not going to reach. People are random. I am casting seeds. Okay, this is what it's about. That's the video. Thanks for watching.